Thank you again, everyone, for attending, taking time out of your day today to speak with Don and I. Don, thank you so much for being available so we could talk about all things ICF. My name is Makeda Boucaud, and I am an admissions coach at iPEC and love to just connect with everyone here. Don Whittle, he's going to talk about all of his magic during our time today. So I will just start it off, and I'll have Don just talk a little bit about himself. And then if there's any questions that come up, feel free to just pop them in the question and answer, and I'll be sure to answer them and get your questions answered. So without further ado, Don, so can you just share with us a little bit about your story, who you are, how you landed at the ICF, and anything else you kind of want to add?
Yeah, sure. I'm Don Whittle, longtime membership director here at the International Coaching Federation. I've been here, gosh, this is my 16th year I'm coming up on. Landed here in Lexington because was originally working in Olympic sports. Prior to that, so a real performance element part that I was focused on there and funding athletes. But now I'm here at the ICF over all these years and have seen the real trajectory of coaching and its growth over the years. We've moved from, we were about 12,000 members when I started in 2007 to now we're 57,000 members in 140 countries. Credentialing back then was in the just low thousands. Now we just celebrated 50,000 credential holders worldwide in just as many countries. Have a staff of about 80 people, most of whom are remote workers, some international as well, connecting people. And it's just, there's a lot going on. Coaching is just continues to amaze me in terms of its growth, and it's people are attracted to the coaching profession because they've seen results of what it does, and I'm a firm believer of that. I'm not personally a coach, but I will say one of the benefits here at ICF is having my own personal coach who is excellent, who's been with me for years, and a real motivator and someone who can help push me when I'm stuck. So I'll stop there, and yeah.
So one of the things that you said that I definitely want to give space to talk about is how the coaching industry has grown and evolved since you first started. And one of the biggest questions that I get in my role is the importance of credentialing. Is it important? Why? And I would just love to hear your take on credentialing, membership, ICF, and why is it important in your coaching journey?
Yeah, thanks. And I'm a big proponent of credentialing here. I actually had an aha moment probably 5 years ago about how important it was in a meeting. And I was like, I got to tell everybody about this. I mean, people need to know how important this is in your coaching journey. And really what it's all about is the people who earn an ICF credential show the commitment to the profession in terms of having completed a rigorous process that includes education, experience, mentor coaching, a performance evaluation, and an examination. And these are all done these are all part of the standards of the organization and how it operates its credential. And we're a nonprofit organization, so I want to be real clear about that. We're here to serve members and credential holders and stakeholders. And I can just tell you that having a credential really demonstrates a level of professionalism and validation, if you will, in the coaching profession in terms of who you are as a credentialed coach member.
And so when you think of you actually said a couple of important things, because there's so many different coach training programs, but you talked about some different components that an ICF accredited school has, and that's the education, the extensive education, the training, the experience, practice coaching, and then also like that mentor coaching. Just for 1 second, if you can just talk a little bit about that mentor coaching and that how that helps in the development process of a coach.
Yeah, so the mentor coaching is all about you having a coach who will work with you for a period of time. And I know there's sessions from 30 minutes to an hour, if you will. And it's all about strengthening your coaching skills. And this is actually an opportunity for the coach to be able to provide feedback to the coachee in terms of the mentor coaching, and be able to listen to his, her, or they coaching sessions and make comments and suggestions, so the individual becomes an even better coach when they're working with clients. And it's a great process, and a big fan of it. And just as an aside, somebody from overseas sent me something to comment on yesterday, which was a mentor coaching app. I'm not going to say any more than that, but I was like, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Off the record, you tell me about it. Oh, and you know, the one thing that we talk about at iPEC is really like mastering coaching. And with every client, you just learn different skills and how to use it. But with that mentor coach, it just really helps you with honing in on your uniqueness as a coach, and then making sure that we are using the framework that the ICF identified, so that we can just become better each and every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, and I was going to say, I want to also clarify that ICF is not in the business of providing coach-specific training. That's not what we do. We accredit training programs such as iPEC at the highest level, by the way, because iPEC's curriculum and definition of coaching, and following the core competencies that we have in the Code of Ethics, part of the standards, they've earned that designation of being an accredited school of ours. And let me just say, they're one of the best without question. I'll leave it there. But yes, really important.
That's it. We could probably wrap up this session right now. There you go. No, thank you, Don. We've had a great partnership for years with the ICF. So thank you so much. I do have a really quick question from someone in the chat. So and Brittany, thank you so much. So let's say you graduated from an actual accredited school. Thank you for pointing it out that you do have to go through an accredited school to get credentialing, but it's been a while. What's the process to then go through credentialing with the ICF after you've graduated?
So what you'll do is, and I want to be clear that it's, so it all depends on the training program you took. Like, I know iPEC has the accredited program that's, helped me out, 320 hours. Is that right?
Plus, we got more than 320
more than
hours,
that, because it's 3 different certifications. Am I right there? I'm not talking off the top of my head. I know this.
Advocate for us. Go ahead.
And it's certainly one of the most comprehensive in terms of what it offers, and it ticks all of our boxes: education, experience, mentor coaching, performance evaluation, and exam, which encompasses that accreditation. And I'm not even going to get into, there's this level 1, level 2 new designations that we have here at ICF. I'm not going to confuse anyone with that, but to say, if you've done that, the process is turnkey in order to go through the credentialing process. It's about a 4-week process. They just need to verify everything is correct. You upload your training program and tick some other boxes. One's even in terms of coaching experience, your client coaching hours. It's 100 hours for the ACC. It's 500 for PCC. I'll parking lot the PCC here for a while. But And then you're going to be, once you go through that and pay and submit your money for it, it's a 4-week process to get verified and then scheduled schedule an exam. And we contract with a third-party vendor who does our examinations, and I know it's both virtual and in-person at testing centers. So that's another part of the process. But after that, it just takes, it's scoring the test, and it should all happen in a short period of time in terms of being able to earn that credential and also receiving a digital credential badge as well. I'll stop there if there's any other questions on that or anything else.
Now, as soon as we start talking credentialing, the questions roll in, roll in.
Yes.
And the one thing I will say for the sake of time is that the ICF's website is wonderful with outlining the process in terms of PCC, ACC, MCC credentialing. And if you email them, I know this from personal experience, they will reach back out to you if you have any specific questions. So any questions we don't get to today, please forgive me, but the ICF is wonderful with just responding to specific questions. One of the questions is, let's see, what are the renewal and continuing education requirements? And you could say this generally, or if you wanted to speak to one.
Yeah, and I'll be general in this because there are a little bit more is entailed in the ACC renewal process, where you have to pursue and get a more mentor coaching. But it's a 40-hour process of 24 of which need to come from core competencies. Mm-hmm. Once you become an ICF member, one of our benefits is we offer communities of practice, and we have a learning portal, learning management system where you can earn free continuing education units. There's education CCEs that you can earn pretty much everywhere. There's a lot of different offerings that are available is what I'm saying. But it's other than the 40 hours of continuing education earned over a 3-year period. And of course, there could, if you're renewing an ACC credential, then there will be 10 hours of mentor coaching added on to that as well from a mentor who is ACC or higher, or that ACC has to have renewed his, her, or they credential within, they will, one time they'd have to renew that ACC credential for them to be your mentor coach. But it's again a pretty turnkey process in renewing credentials. And for the PCC and the MCC, and I can't even believe I said MCC, but it's the same process without the mentor coaching. So,
right. And how often does, this is another question from Catherine, how often does certification have to be renewed?
So it's every 3 years. Yeah, that awesome. You'd be up for renewal.
Awesome. Now, Amy, I see your question about, she says, for someone considering coach training, why iPEC over an ICF accredited university program, certificate, or other coach training program? So,
well, I mean, we're on the iPEC call here, and this is, look, I will say there's a lot of great training programs out there.
Absolutely.
And I would pick one, at least it meets your needs and where you want to go with your coaching. And to me, and we're on this iPEC call, I know iPEC offers all of that, and I'm very impressed with their offerings. And that's not to say iPEC's so much better than everybody else. That's not the case, but what they offer is truly exceptional. And I would really, if I'm going to pursue coach training, I'm going to go and make an investment that's going to be worthwhile for me in terms of my return on investment.
Absolutely.
That I'm expecting.
And if I could chime in agreement with everything that Don stated, in my role as an admission coach, we support you in gaining clarity on exactly what you want out of a coach training program. There's so many different universities, just training programs like iPEC, all great, all accredited. But the first thing is really gaining clarity about what's important for you, what's in alignment with your goals, and then essentially choosing a school out of that, because that's what's really going to support your experience and your development and your business. So in my role, I'm very big on supporting with clarity. And sometimes it's iPEC, and honestly, sometimes it's not. But for me, success is you moving forward in choosing a school and one that really aligns with you. So Amy would love to talk to you some more. But now Don, just to segue a little bit from the credentialing part, because we talk a lot about that, but there's a whole life and experience beyond credentialing.
Sure.
Now, when we talk about membership and support in your coaching development, what does membership look like, and how does being a member of the ICF, and I did get your reminder email yesterday, thank you. What does that look like as a member? How do you support coaches in their journey?
So what it's all about is I like to look at three different things, and number one is the credential, because we want this is my own personal bias, and I'll admit to it. I'm not sure why anyone wants to join an organization, or at least this organization, without pursuing the credential. It's a natural, it's going to provide all this credibility and validation. So I always put credentialing right up there. And we have a pretty nice discount on being a member and receiving a discount on any of the credentials or the renewal. Community, we've got 140 chapters in about 70 plus countries around the world. I say that because coaches are very naturally, in my estimation, people persons, how do I say that? Yeah, there are people. Yeah, and they all want to gather around and network and share ideas and best practices. And these chapters hold a great space for that. They also provide a professional development as well, and even some pro bono coaching opportunities. And then the third piece is professional development. We, as I alluded to before, have communities of practice in 10 different niche areas. They meet quarterly by webinar, and you can earn continuing education units from that, continuing coach education, CCEs, after you as you're renewing your credential. And we also have a biannual conference. We're going to have it this year. It's going to be in Orlando, Florida in October. And a lot of the chapters as well have their own conferences, albeit some smaller, but many very engaging, and it's a great opportunity to be part of that. So credentialing, community, and professional development are the main drivers, I think, of membership and why people belong and remain loyal members.
And in my space, when I speak to anyone that's looking into a coach training, community is big, having that support, being able to network. So that professional development piece, it just speaks to that it doesn't stop after you finish a coach training program. You're constantly going to be building and evolving and growing your skills. So really connecting yourself with the ICF really just supports that professionalism and separates you from everyone. One of the questions that we have is, I get a lot of questions about what's the difference between going to an accredited program versus going to ICF for membership. It could be very confusing. Do you need both? Is one required before the other?
You don't have to be a member to apply for a credential. You can do that on your own. However, I would say if membership definitely has its benefits on the price discount for the credential, and also the opportunity, again, to connect with community, as well as get the latest, greatest information on the coaching industry. We do a lot of research, and the whole professional development piece of being able to pursue that.
Yeah, so What that essentially means is in order to be either a member or a credentialed member of the ICF, you have to go through an accredited program first. And the ICF has a wonderful list of schools, and there's different kinds of schools. Like when you talk about IPEC, IPEC is an extensive intensive school, and then there's other schools that they have different ways of getting credentialed, but all accredited through the ICF. So the ICF is a great source to look at the list. So once you get certified through the school, then you become a member and you get credentialed.
Excellent. Wow.
Excellent.
Couldn't have said it any better.
Thank
Yeah,
you. You know, I'm
no
an
doubt.
advocate for ICF, just
I
like
know
you
you
advocate
are.
for us.
I love you. I mean, that's awesome. I'm gonna,
You know
get your
that.
address and send you something. Yeah, that's awesome.
I have a question. Oh, what's the best way to prepare for the ICF exam?
So if you go to the ICF website and under credentials and standards, if you tap around, you'll find more information on the exam, and there are some test questions on there, sample questions, if you will. And there's not that many. I would say the best way to prepare is to make sure you review all your coaching curriculum that you just completed, as well as our core competencies, code of ethics, and definition of coaching. I think it's the exam just recently changed to,
Yes.
and I don't want to say the number because I'll get it wrong. It used to be 155 questions. I think it's now 81, but don't quote me on that. And I think the average score, and don't quote me on this either, to pass is 70, but I don't, again, I'm pretty confident in both of those statements. So.
And I would also keep in mind, depending upon where you go for your certification, that mentor coach, that is also helping to prepare you as well, because they're an ICF credentialed coach. So when you think about going through a training, the process for ICF credentialing really starts from your certification. So everything you learn there is the foundation. That mentoring coach just adds a nice bow to it. And the practice, the more you practice, the more you're really putting the skills to use, so that when you get to the ICF exam, you're definitely more prepared than you think you are. So that goes back to the training. Thank you. And someone has a question, Catherine. What are the costs of the certification? And just to clarify, certification and credentialing are two different things. Certification is through an accredited coach training program, and the costs vary very much. And then credentialing is after certification, and you can choose from 1 to 3 credentials. I hope that.
Yeah, so that is correct. And so I'm just going to talk about the big program here, and that is the one we referenced before. So if you take the comprehensive training with IPEC, the cost of that credential, if you're a member, is $175. It's the ACC through what we call the level 1, level 2 ACTP path. There's also two other. So the other path is the ACSTH route, and that is if, for example, if you went to IPEC and did not complete the entire comprehensive training, but took X number of hours that was short of that, you would go through the ACSTH path. The way to determine which path to go on, you would have to complete the credential survey, which is on the credentials and standards path. It's called Apply Now. That's where you want to go and determine that.
And just as in terms of credentialing, I know one of the aspects is the exam, but then it's also tracking your coaching hours. So I have a question. When tracking your hours, do you need to have permission from your clients?
So there are some stipulations where so technically, yes, you would need that in terms of putting that client, if he, she, or they say, I don't want that on there, I don't want you to track me, then there's a way you can submit that but all that information those are actual nuances of the
Yes.
credential process, which are contained in the ICF website under credentialing, where you can find that information under, I believe it's experience, and how to count those experience hours.
And again, because I've lived this experience, I've had to email ICF numerous times. When you're talking about counting the experience, you can also reach out to them to see how you can count what you do for work. And if you can count what you do for work.
Right.
All about working smarter, not harder. So again, the ICF, when you email them, very responsive, very detailed, and very supportive in answering your questions. Oh my goodness. So we have a minute.
Oh gosh.
I know that went by like super quick.
Yes.
There is one thing that's in the chat that I also just want to clarify. The question from L is credential like a specialization. It's so many different terminologies, but it's different.
So it's not, it's like all encompassing, that says you're credentialed, as a professional coach. So I would say you could pretty much cover any niche area. However, I will add one more element to this, and that is we just approved a team coaching. It's called Advanced Certification in Team Coaching. You have to be a credential coach to earn it. But anyways, take a look at that if that's something that speaks to you as well. But I think this specifically, though, is you're a new coach, you're going to go through the ACC process. So I would take a look at all the requirements that are listed there. And feel free to contact us at support@coachingfederation.org if you have questions.
Nice. And in the last minute, Don,
Yeah.
to put it in a bow, wrap it up, what is anything that you can share about whether it's ICF, coaching, any parting words?
I'm just going to say this really short and succinct, hopefully, and that is coaching's here to stay. The demand is great. It's going to continue to thrive for some time now. And I would say get the best coach training you can pursue. I strongly recommend iPEC for what they have, and I hope to see you as an ICF member and a credential coach holder soon.
Yes, and I am here to support you in gaining clarity about why iPEC makes the best sense on your journey. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Don, you are awesome. Thank you again for just being here and answering questions, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Have a great
Makeda.
rest of your day. Bye, Don.
Bye.